Edgecombe County Board of Commissioners to order. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Board of Education.
Board of Education. Let me set it to the perspective. I would like to call the Nash County Board of Education joint meeting with the Edgecombe County Board of Commissioners to order. Thank you. At this time, I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So move. Second.
Motion has been moved by Board Member Ebola for the record, seconded by Board Member Chavis. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please let it be known by the sign of aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. At this time, I would like to, for the Nash County Board of Education board members to state their names, for the record.
Evelyn Hines Bullock, I serve District 10.
Franklin Lamb, District 3.
Sharonda Thomas Bullock, District 11.
It's that great district. I'm sorry, guys. I'm having a brain moment right here. It's been a long day. All right.
Donovan Chavis, District 1.
And LaShonda Washington, District 9.
Excuse me.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
District 6. That's all right.
And Dean Edwards is joining us, remotely.
Yes, can you hear me this time?
Yes. Go ahead, introduce yourself.
Dean Edwards, District 2.
Thank you.
At this time, I'm Leonard Wiggins, Commissioner, District 3, Edgecombe County Commission.
Good evening, Eric Evans, Edgecombe County Manager.
Wayne Adams, District 7.
Ralph Webb, District 5. Donald Balls, District 4.
Evelyn Powell, District 1.
George Thorne, District 4.
Natalie Best, Edgecombe County Deputy County Manager.
At this time, we'll move into our agenda. Mr. Eric Evans, our county manager, will give us a county update.
Good evening again, everyone. It's good to see you. It's always nice to have this opportunity for us to meet and share with each other. I won't be long before you tonight. I just want to share with you a few updates from the county's perspective. And you do have a copy of my presentation at your seat. Tonight is for a few minutes, I want to talk about some notable accomplishments. We've got many, but I just want to share a few with you tonight. I want to talk about some important initiatives, priorities for next fiscal year, and then certainly offer opportunity for you to ask any questions that you might have. So first, in regards to notable accomplishments. So I see it as an accomplishment, us weathering this workforce storm. And I'm sure you all have been going through it. It seems like everybody, every company, public, private, has been facing the workforce challenges here lately. We certainly have been doing everything we possibly can do to weather that and to not just survive it, but to hopefully thrive through it. And we've employed a few strategies to try to deal with that. First of all, we've made some investments in technology. I want to recognize Jason Webb, who is our Chief Information Officer. He certainly led the charge on a number of these initiatives in the last couple of years. We've made investments to switch over to Office 365 for all of our staff. We've totally changed over our phone system to a voice over IP phone system. We've made investments in audio-visual equipment and several of our meeting spaces in the building, all because COVID and these staffing shortages have demanded more flexibility and mobility from all of us. I'm sure all of us have had to learn to do some new things as it relates to technology that we never thought we'd have to do before, and we had to learn pretty quickly. Also, we had to rethink work. We are so used to, as everyone, used to doing business the same way we've always been doing business. Our citizens are used to us providing all of our service from our office or workspace or what have you. But because of the demands of the workforce and, high turnover, we had to rethink that. And so we've had to open ourselves to reconsider how and where that our team members could do their jobs. Now, certainly there are a lot of things that we do in county government that you just have to be there to do it, right? But we look for every opportunity that we could where jobs could be either totally transitioned to remote or at least some hybrid version of that. So not a tremendous number of employees, but out of about 550 employees, right now we've got about 24 or 25 of our staff members that work from home, either totally or some hybrid version. And just, where we are in the workforce forced us to have to rethink how we work and where we do that work from. We've also, in the job market being so competitive, of course, we would love to have said, we're just going to give everybody a 10, 15% raise so we don't lose a single employee, but that's just not possible, right? So we've had to look for creative ways to try to put some incentives out there to try to, to hire and retain good qualified staff. And so one of the things, of a few things we've done is we've tried to reward growth in our staff. So what we're doing is what we call credential incentives, where if in a particular position, there is a verifiable, bona fide, takes a little sweat to get it kind of credential, that is not just a 2 or 3 hour, quick online class you take and they email your certificate. I mean, you really got to put some time into it, and it's a verifiable credential. Then we've been looking for ways to reward that. So we've been able to do that in a number of our departments. And so that is not totally shut the floodgates, but has helped to slow that down a little bit. And that's just one of a few things we're doing. Also, we had to revisit our purpose. After all of us trying to do our jobs in the midst of COVID, and I don't know about y'all, but it seems like the public is a little bit more on edge than they used to be. And sometimes, a few of them are not as friendly, and the work just gets harder and harder. Individually, employees are asking, why am I doing this? Why am I even putting myself through this? And the pay is not where I want it to be. And maybe I should do something else. Well, not only as individuals do we have to, we have that thought, but as an organization, we had to rethink that. We had to rethink and consider our why. Why is it that we, put so much energy and time and effort into the things that we do to serve our citizens and to provide the services that we provide. And so we, as an organization, we've thought through the why, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. But overall, I list this as a success because we've weathered it. In fact, you should celebrate yourself too, because you've weathered it too, right? It's been a very difficult last 2 or 3 years, but we're still here, right? We're still providing services. We never stop providing services. And though we've been short-staffed, we've never, it's like trying to balance all of those plates. A few have gotten wobbly over the last couple of years, but we've not dropped any very serious ones anyway. And so, I think that's something that we need to celebrate. Certainly we do that as an organization. In fact, I feel confident in saying that not only have we come through this, I think we as an organization have come through this stronger. And we are really retooling and repositioning ourselves as an organization based on some of the lessons that we've learned in the last couple of years. Also, in the last year, you hear about Kingsborough Industrial Park. I think every time is not because it's the only thing we got to talk about, but it is a big thing in Edgecombe County. It's not just a big thing in Edgecombe County. It is a big thing in the state of North Carolina. This is a big deal, Kingsborough Industrial Park. And I bring that up again because we have continued to build on the value of our business park, to build on its attractiveness. One of the ways that we've been able to do that is to continue to grow and improve the infrastructure that's available there. We've had water and sewer there for a long time, and there's been internet access in and around it for a long time, and now we have a service road that runs through it that's named after our chairman, Mr. Leonard Wiggins, and You know, so we got out, but every year we try to do a little something, and we're pursuing grant opportunities. Federal COVID funding provided us great opportunities for that, and we tried our best to take advantage of that. We've been approved for a couple of grants. One grant is to increase our water capacity out at the park. So once that work is complete, there is very few businesses that could locate out there that their demand for water would be so big that we couldn't provide it. We can provide a lot of water out in that park once this is done. We're also working on trying to secure funding to increase our sewer capacity. Our goal is that every time we sit down and talk with a prospect, no matter what they make or they plan to make, no matter how big they might be, we want, as they go down that checklist, asking those questions, do you have this? Do you have that? Can you do this? Can you do that? We want to be able to say yes to every one of those questions. And right now, really the only one that we can't quite say yes to is on the sewer side. We can provide lots of sewer, but if that whole park were to fill up tomorrow, we could not provide sewer for all of them. So we continue to build out our infrastructure there at Kingsborough. Right now, we have total site control of right at 2,000 acres. Through some ARPA funds, we were able to close off some purchase agreements there. And so on the map that you can probably more clearly see at your place, we actually own, I don't know if that'll show up there, but that road running north-south there is intersecting that 64 bypass, that's Kingsborough Road. The county owns everything to the east of 64 bypass. Caroline's Gateway has an option on the land to the west of it, but the county owns everything that's shown up there in the topo map, everything east of Kingsborough Road. So that's something that we're very excited about. We also, because of this, we have been very appealing in particular to EV or electric vehicle related companies, whether it be companies that manufacture batteries for electric vehicles or manufacture the whole car. Right now, we've got 4 active projects that are looking at Kingsborough Industrial Park that are EV related. Whereas you'll recall a few years ago, we thought we had landed Triangle Tire. And of course, eventually they pulled the plug on that. Triangle Tire pulled the plug on that. That project was about $800 million of investment. And we were like, this is changing the life of Edgecombe County forever. These projects start at $1 billion and go north. We just got a new prospect last week. It's very early, so I try to manage my excitement about these things. But they're talking about first phase, $4 billion. The calculator on my phone won't calculate that high. $4 billion. All of them are around 1,000 jobs plus, some of them 2,000 jobs plus. So because we are so ready at Kingsborough, we're very attractive to these types of companies because all of them are off to the races. They're trying to capitalize on where they think the market is going to go, and they're looking for a place where they can be to production as quickly as possible. And we can offer that at Kingsborough better than any park in anywhere in the state of North Carolina. Also, QVC, as you know, we had the unfortunate fire there a couple of years ago almost. But in recent months, the fire damaged portion of that facility has been totally cleaned off, cleared out. And now if you look at it, it looks like a concrete pad that just got poured. And so there are 2 parts of the building to the left and the building to the far back that are still standing. They're doing some renovations to it. And it is ready for somebody to move in and build something and start manufacturing something. You probably read it in the newspaper a few months ago. Ownership of the building recently changed hands. There's a new owner, as owner investor who purchased that building. And now we have 2 prospects that are looking at that building. So some exciting things going on at Kingsborough. One of our other accomplishments over the last year or so has been our strategic investment of our ARPA funds, or American Rescue Plan Act funds. And I'm pretty sure y'all can relate to this. You know, when the federal government just calls you up and says, hey, we're getting ready to send you $10 million. And by the way, we're going to send you half of it. We haven't even finished writing the rules on it. And then we want you to help and spend it, but don't spend it the wrong way, because then 5 years from now, we're going to come back and we're going to audit your books. You know, so it's a blessing, but it's also a burden, right? So we got just under $10 million, and we had a very difficult decision as to how we're going to spend it, because you can only spend it once. And I'm grateful for our board and the work that they did with us as a staff in our decision making, how we were going to strategically invest this money that we can only spend once. We sort of looked at it from three perspectives. We said, how can we spend this to help the people? How can we spend it to help the county, us as an organization? And how can we spend this for the future as well? So we came up with a plan as to how we're going to spend those funds. And so as far as the people, we are offering some supportive services for the elderly through our Office on Aging. We have a crisis intervention program that we ran through our Department of Social Services. In fact, of $250,000, we've spent that down to just over $500. We have assisted 535 families with different types of assistance, whether it's rental assistance, utility assistance, and a number of different things. Right now, we're still taking applications for what we call an urgent home repair program. So those are the programs that we stood up to help the people. As it relates to the county, our objective was how we might invest some of this money internally was to, first of all, provide some short-term budget relief for us, but at the same time to address some long-term capital needs. So you'll see the list, and I won't read everything there, but we satisfied some obligations that we still owed at Kingsborough and site prep work out there, put some money in our payroll and a few other things. We did hazard bonuses. We're doing some capital improvements now, capital improvements that otherwise we would either have had to save up for a few years or borrow some money. So we're very happy how we were able to invest those funds. And then finally, for the future, broadband. So the board has decided that of just under $10 million that we're going to set aside $1 million to invest in the advancement and deployment of broadband in the county. This is going to be leveraged alongside $4 million of state funds through the Great Grant Program. Company Brightspeed just found out recently they were awarded funds to help expand broadband opportunities in the county. The board is going to continue to explore opportunities, whether we work with that company or do something outside of that. But between our $1 million and their $4 million, we feel like that we can help to invest in broadband access, getting to anywhere from additional 2,000 to 3,000 households in Edgecombe County. So we're excited about that. You know, that's a very complicated thing. None of us are broadband experts other than being a really good end user, right? I use a lot of internet service. None of us are experts, so we are together learning as we go, and we're trying to inform ourselves to make good decisions, but we've been excited about that opportunity. Quickly, I want to mention a few important initiatives that we've been looking at. I mentioned a moment ago, you know, we had to take a step back and sort of look within ourselves and ask ourselves the why. You know, why are we doing this? What is our purpose? What's our vision? And so our staff, some of our staff and the board at their retreat spent some time looking at that, looking at what's our vision for our county from the perspective of our citizens, what's the vision for us as an organization. And so through several sessions, a lot of hard work, we whittled down some really good feedback to what we call a two-sided vision statement. So the vision for our county now, and this is our new vision statement, is that Edgecombe County is a historic place that values its citizens and natural resources and creates opportunities where people are proud to live, work, and play for generations to come. That sounds like a place I'd like to live. And the other side of that vision statement is for us as an organization. If that's what we want our county to be, then who do we have to be as an organization to help our county to get there? So this is the side of our vision statement that faces inward. And so as an organization, we value our employees so that it can be an organization committed to providing exceptional services to our citizens through an innovative, passionate, and creative team devoted to excellence, integrity, and transparency for the continued growth of our county and staff. And that sounds like a place I want to work. And so we're excited about that. We are not just doing that to have, cute vision statements to put up on the wall so we can say we've got one. This is something that we are keeping in front of us and allowing it to drive budget decisions, allowing it to drive management decisions, allowing it to drive how we invest money for the future. So you're going to be seeing and hearing a lot more about that. But we need something to drive us, right? We need something to motivate us to go from where we are to where we need to be. It's like building a bridge. And so, reaching back to the legacy of the former manager, Mr. Lorenzo Carmen, who used to say, I'm tired of being at the top and bottom of every bad list, right? He used to tell us that. Many of us had opportunity to work with him. I was honored to work with him for 14 years before he retired. He used to tell us that all the time. So we've taken that sentiment and we've whittled it down to our call to action, which simply is get off the list, right? And there are lots of lists. We either want to get off it, move down it, move up it, but something about these lists that Edgecombe County finds itself being on, and we want to affect those lists. And we're doing a lot of work. We've really rolled up our sleeves on this. We've got a group that just met a few weeks ago, sort of a strategic visioning group. That's some of our stakeholders that are joining us. We're doing work internally with our staff, work with the board. So this is something that you'll hear from us more as well. So some other things we're doing. One of the lists that we happen to be on is that we are usually in the top 5 highest unemployment rates in the state. And I've been working with the county for 21 years, and it seems like we've always been in the top 5. Oftentimes we're number 1 or 2. Every now and then we'll slip down to 6 or 7 as soon as we start celebrating, and we go back in top 5. So we're working on a suite of initiatives to help impact that in the long term. And so these are some things that I won't say a whole lot about tonight because I got to roll this out to our board at our budget work session on Wednesday. But I just want all of you to know that we're working on some initiatives that it's just not going to be a 1-year thing, a one-time thing. We're trying to do some work to plant some trees, right? That 20 years from now, somebody will be able to stand under and find some shade. And so you're going to hear more about some initiatives that will fall under this umbrella that we're calling Edgecombe Works. Broadband deployment, I talked about that a moment ago. I realized when I picked that picture that that should be a laptop sitting in front of that little girl, right? So this is, this is an outdated picture right now. That's right. That's right. So she's got to use that notebook because she doesn't have internet at home, right? So that's part of the future. That's part of this work. There's very few things that we can do without access to broadband, right? So that's part of the work that we're going to be doing as well. Briefly, I just want to mention that as part of our priorities, our board at their retreat a couple of months ago went through a couple of exercises just to get feedback from them as to, we can't do it all. We don't have enough money to do everything. But what's most important to you? And these are 4 things that the board shared with us. First one being compensation plan overhaul. We are working on overhauling our compensation plan. And I say that intentionally because it's not just a market study, though we needed that. We've not done one in almost 10 years. But it's not just that, it's really overhauling the structure of our pay system and our job titles and all of that, to modernize a lot of that, to really realign our structure. So it's a tremendous amount of work. We're trying to get that done in time enough to hopefully build that into the budget for next year, because we've got to do something. We're losing a lot of employees. We lose a lot of employees that hate to leave. we have people that tell us quite often, say, I don't want to go, but gas, eggs, rent and everything else. And I just can't ignore that anymore. We have people tell us that all the time. So, we're limited in what in our resources so we can only do so much, but I really appreciate our board that they have clearly made this a priority. They've made our employees a priority, and I appreciate that. And it's not just because we got great folks working for us and it's an awesome organization, but as we stand right now in Department of Social Services, we've got 174 positions on the books, and we've got 45 plus or minus vacancies. It changes from day to day. Ms. Betty Battle, our director, is doing a great job. Her team is doing a great job, and they are covering the bases. They're making sure that they do what they need to do, but they are holding on to it by the tips of their fingernails. And so that's just one example, but we see that played out throughout our organization. So we're working on a compensation plan overhaul. They've also said that public safety, to include sheriff, EMS, and fire, is a priority. Education and workforce is a priority, as well as economic growth, as it has always been. So just a few things I want to share with you tonight. Again, it's my honor to be here, and certainly I'm open to answer any questions if you have any, if I can.
But if there are no questions at this time, when the superintendent finishes his presentation, if you jot them down, we'll have a joint discussion.
All right, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
That went on. Eric, I enjoyed that. Enjoyed the presentation.
Thank you, sir.
So tonight we'll be discussing the budget request for Nash County Public Schools. I would like to first thank the commissioners for their support and their presence tonight, and also our board. Your support has allowed for some great accomplishments this year, and tonight we're going to highlight some of those accomplishments. I would like to recognize first my cabinet and staff back there. If you would stand for me, see you back there. I just want to thank you for your hard work. I'm going to give you a real clap right now. I couldn't do it without them, and tonight when they present, they'll go over their certain areas, and if you have any questions, please make sure you could ask them then, since they're already up here. So briefly, the agenda tonight was the welcome. We're going to have a review of last year, this year. We're going to go over the budget. We're going to talk about challenges and then the request. And at this time, completed projects by Shannon Davis.
Good evening. So what I just want to go over a few projects that we've completed this past fiscal year. You can see in the first slide, we started several years ago with the high schools. We worked down toward middle schools, renovating high school gymnasiums, bleachers, sand and refinish floors. We worked to the middle schools, and finally, last couple of years, we've started working on elementary schools. This past year, you can see DS Johnson. We replaced all the floor tile with a new seam. It's a welded seam floor, so a lot of low maintenance flooring. We completed DS Johnson. You can see Baskerville Elementary School. These floors were original floors. They were asbestos floor tiles. They were all intact, not a safety issue, but it was time to update those floors since we were trying to complete all of the elementary flooring systems. and Inglewood Elementary. So we completed 3 floors this past year, Hubbard Elementary being the last one. It's in this upcoming fiscal year of flooring renovation. Completed roofing projects. Picture you're looking at on the left is Southern Nash High School. It's the 400 building. That's the completion of a single membrane roof. That roof was 20+ years old, had extended its life. Bailey Elementary School, the canopy, of course, was about 18 years old. And Nash Central High School, 2001, we're in phase 2 this past year, and phase 3 will be completed in this upcoming fiscal year in roofing projects. Window replacements, a lot of this funding was through the ESSER funding. We're really proud of updating. Without the ESSER money, there was no way with the cost of window projects would we have ever been able to accomplish what we have accomplished in the district. What you're seeing on the left is Edwards Middle School, the far left, and I'm not sure if you can even see this pointer, or the older windows, and then to the right are the newer double insulated windows. Cooper's Pre-K was also completed. Spring Hope Elementary, we did the 4 classroom building, along with Southern Nash Middle School, the 200, 300, 500, and 600 wings. And of course, Rocky Mountain Middle, we completed some over the gymnasium where we've had leaks over the past few years. What you're seeing here is on the left side is Red Oak Middle School. We had added 1,000 linear footage of paving for stacking, where we had a lot of issues with congestion out on Highway 43 and there in the Red Oak area. The right side you can see is Nash Central Middle. We completed this over spring break, where they're starting the development behind the school that's going to end up being quite a few houses, and they were not wanting us to stack our traffic out on Highway 58 or along the adjacent street. We did this in-house over spring break, and we're paving it between now and the end of this fiscal year. This is an HVAC project we're doing in-house. This is Spring Hope Elementary, phase 1. Of course, this is also completed with ESSER funds, but completed with in-house projects. This is the VRF system that I've been talking about for several years. We first piloted this at DS Johnson 5 years ago on the 100, 200, and the 300 wings. The only thing that does not have it at Johnson or the cafeteria and dining room, they have package systems that were replaced as well. But this is a new system that's very energy efficient. We're saving on average 30+% in energy savings on using this. And we've sent several of our HVAC people to school to training on working on this type of system. It was originally used, and I will give a little background in hospitals, and it's a Japanese technology, but it's slowly migrating to the educational side. And we took the jump to try it in the educational facility, and everywhere we've used it, the teachers are really pleased with control of each classroom. This is the picture at Edwards as well. This is a total renovation. I just mentioned we had completed all the windows in the entire campus. Mechanically, we should be finishing that on the right side. You're looking at the media center. That's the last phase. We've been working on this project for roughly 18 months now. It's been about a $3.5 million project with windows and mechanical. The principal has been very gracious moving kids around. We've been doing this entire project with in-house force as well as contractors and moving kids around to complete this. So it hopefully is coming to an end before EOG testing. In the next couple of weeks, we'll be getting all the COs on this project. Finally, you can see the suspended ceilings. If you've ever been in Edwards, they had all open ceilings where you could see all the piping, all the boiler, the chillers, and now you've got all suspended ceilings throughout, all new LED lighting. Hopefully, within the next 12 months, starting July, we should hopefully start reaping the benefits of all of the energy savings. So we'll be able to capture a 12-month and see exactly pulling boilers and chillers offline, what the full savings will be, and the payback of this full renovation. Finally, we've got some projects that are currently in progress. Of course, you know, we've been talking about Red Oak Elementary School. This is a rendering when the project first started from the architects. This is a picture from about a week and a half ago. The building is basically complete. I think we got CO on the final piece, the 600, which is the back of the gymnasium, last week. The part you're seeing up front here is the serpentine line. That's the existing old campus that's been demolished. And that'll be the new car stacking line. And you see the water tower in the background. We're planning on keeping that, renovating it, painting it, and that will fall in one of the lanes, the islands of the serpentine line. And finally, the Northern Asheville House. This is something that we have just in the last 2 weeks put back out for bid. We originally bid this last March. Bids come in way over. And as Mr. Evans had mentioned, the climate of everything that has been going on, prices have increased. We didn't have the funding to move forward with the contract just due to labor cost and all increasing cost in general. We have since hopefully figured out means of funding this project. The bids will be opened the 23rd of May, and hopefully we should be able to secure the funding to award the contract. Of course, this is another rendering of the front entrance of the field house. Any questions for me at this time? Yes, ma'am.
Would you have a listing of any capital needs for the 4 schools on the Edgecombe County side that have been kind of put on the back burner?
There is if we're looking mechanically, which is the biggest need basically for all school systems. I do have in this next fiscal year a chiller replacement on phase 1 of this campus. It's roughly about $100,000 chiller. It's the bigger of the 2 chillers. It's the phase 1. You know, this campus was built in 2 phases, so we have 2 chillers. That money is in next fiscal year's budget, and there's some carpeting, a little bit of carpeting needs as well in next fiscal year's budget. But mechanically, we have basically touched all 4 of these schools, and they're mechanically in as good a shape as any school we have in the district. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
And good evening. I'm pleased to stand before you this evening to go over our proposed budget for 23-24. This first slide represents a summary of our proposed revenues, reflecting the multiple funds that we manage. Our state public school fund, our local current expense, capital outlay, child nutrition fund, and our donations and grants fund. The donation and grants fund is fondly known as Fund 8 to us. The one fund that is not represented on this slide is our federal fund. These projections are either based on our estimates and projections or information that we've received from the Department of Public Instruction for our state public school fund. Our federal grants don't typically come to us until around October. So that's why that's not included in this. As you see, our total proposed revenues for the 23-24 at this point, exclusive of the federal grants, is a little over $138 million. This graphic will just show you the percentages based on the proposed revenues that were in the previous slide. State makes up about 73% of our total funding and local makes up about 18%. If we were to factor in our federal funding is somewhere in the low to mid $60 million, 60 to 62, $63 million, excuse me. So that factored in would dilute some of these numbers somewhat, but our federal funding makes up about 28% of our total funding. And as you see, our local makes up about 18%, child nutrition about 7%, and donation and grants is less than 1%. Our current expense proposed revenue shows from Nash County appropriation is just slightly more than $21 million, including $400,000 for fines and forfeitures. Edgecombe County appropriation, including the differential, is just under $2.7 million, along with an estimated $40,000 for fines and forfeitures, bringing the total proposed budget to $24,938,055. I'd like to mention to you that there's been no inflation adjustment in our projected or proposed budget, excuse me. Also, the budget was compiled based on an estimated 5% salary increases before we calculated supplements. As you know, if you pay attention to the General Assembly, you'll see, the governor will release a budget, the House will release a budget. The Senate, I think, has just recently released a budget, and each one of those may have different amounts or projected salary increases for state employees. Not knowing exactly yet how this is going to shake out, I used 5%. That may come in a little bit lower, depending upon once the budget is finalized. But for right now, we've projected 5% salary increases and then calculated our supplements based on those adjusted salaries. Also, the supplements I used are paid, the supplements we paid are paid to our certified staff is based on a percentage, and I used the average of the four percentages and used 11.75% in calculating our supplements. Our retirement rate has increased 0.12%, up from 24.5% to 24.62%. And again, this is based on information that we've received from the Department of Public Instruction. Those numbers could vary somewhat as well. But our hospitalization rate has gone up $222 per employee. For 22-23, we're paying $7,397 per employee. Projected right now is $7,619 per employee, as I said, for an increase of about 3%. Our estimated effect on our proposed budget for the increase in the retirement and the increase in the hospitalization rate, we're projecting to affect our proposed budget about $450,000. In addition to our budget, we have factored in another $304,000 for hospitalization for international foreign teachers to fill very difficult positions, to fill positions that we're having difficulty in filling, our teaching positions. This is basically a summary of how Edgecombe County appropriation was apportioned out for the 22-23 year. This could vary from year to year, but as you'll notice, the two primary uses of the money have been toward athletics and student activities, as well as district-wide equipment and supplies. Those two alone make up about 63%. Our capital outlay proposed revenue is just under $1.4 million. To be specific, $1,396,000 and 800. Excuse me, I can't read that far without glasses. I'm sorry, $1,396,890. The next three slides are simply a comparison of our beginning initial budget for 22-23 versus our proposed budget for 23-24. You may see some significant variances between some of these PRCs. If I were to show you our current budget for 22-23, right now, these numbers would be more closely aligned. But to be consistent, we wanted to use the beginning budget versus the beginning budgets. And the last slide is fund date donations and grants. This shows you our projected revenues and also how we intend to expend those funds. And we're projecting this particular fund to be $1,375,000. And these funds are those that are restricted to Nash County Public Schools, whether that be indirect cost, ROTC funds, student driver's ed funding, things like this. These are funds that are specific to Nash County Public Schools. Do you have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Now, how can your utilities be exactly the same from 2022 to 2023?
Well, it's a projection. I don't know how it's going to net out exactly over the course of the year, but I don't know what our year to date is right now. I don't have that figure. I'll be glad to get it for you if you like. But I use basically the same number because I basically use the same number for this year, for the 23-24. I'm not aware of, I've not received any indication of any significant increases in our utility rates.
I was gonna ask the same question about charter school, by you not knowing whether the number is gonna increase or decrease. I see you use the same.
It's a proposed budget. I do not have I don't mean this to sound aloof. I don't have a crystal ball to be able to project what we're going to have. In our charter schools, we're paying for about 25 charter schools, and we're averaging somewhere around 1,300 students per month that we're paying for. So again, I used the same amount. Depending upon enrollment, how many students maybe come back to Nash, how many may leave Nash County Public Schools and go to charter schools. I understand that number can vary.
Probably not the most appropriate person to speak on it, but the international faculty, are those faculty coming? And then it might be someone else that needs to speak about that program, but
Well,
is that?
we have someone else who
virtual?
can speak to it, but we use
that a
agencies that
virtual
bring these people here from other countries to teach. They get them into the country, they take care of the paperwork, get their visas, et cetera. And one of the organizations that we use does not pay benefits for these employees, if you will, these teachers. So we have to cover that for them. The other agencies that we use, the other two agencies we use, do pay the benefits for those particular people coming through their agency.
And you're using those for harder to fill positions?
Yes. Yes. If there are no other questions, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you. Which mic, this one about the smaller one? Okay, can you hear me? Okay. I'm going to piggyback off of your question and the response that Mr. Hill gave you. There's a difference between a J-1 visa candidate and an H-1B visa candidate. The H-1B can lead to permanent residency, but we do have to fund the medical benefits for them. J-1 visa is temporary, and that's why the company or agency that we partner with, that's the reason why they pay all of the benefits associated with that staff member. Okay, so I'm here to speak to you about ESSER funding, and this slide is going to give you an idea of Going to give you an idea of the type of funding that we received over the course of the COVID years. It also gives you a breakdown of the funding that was spent and how we used it during those years. So PRC 163, which is the CARES funding, it is the first funding that we received for COVID relief. We received approximately 4.2 million. And we did have to liquidate all funds, and that was done at the end of 2022. It also gives you a breakdown of how those funds were liquidated. So ESSER 2, which is PRC 171, we have received about about 16 million, and we have a remaining balance of $952,000. It gives you a breakdown of how we use those funds, and we do have to liquidate all of those funds by the end of this school year, and we are on point for doing so. ESSER 3, PRC 181, we received about $36 million. We have approximately 13 million remaining. It gives you an outline of how we have used those funds, and we do have until the end of next year to liquidate all of those funds. And as I stated, we are on point to ensure that we send no funding back to the federal government. Any questions about that slide?
I have one.
Yes, ma'am.
I understand that you, under ESSER, you had to do a special tutoring. Can you tell me what y'all utilized?
For tutoring, so there were several components to tutoring. Some came in the form of CTE, some came academically. We used it pretty much to fund the staffing for that, stipends for the teachers as well. It would probably be more beneficial for someone on the instructional team to come forward, but it was outlined exactly how we could use those funds. Any other questions? Thank you.
Good evening. It's all, okay, good. My name is Leandro Harris Jr., and I'm here to present about school safety equipment and SROs. So I want to talk to you about Evolve Weapons Detection System. The Evolve Express Weapon Detection System combines powerful sensor technology with proven artificial intelligence, security ecosystems integration, and comprehensive venue analytics to ensure safer, more accurate threat detections at an unprecedented speed and volume. The system has a single and dual lane systems. A single lane can approximately scan 200 students, 2,000 students in an hour, 500 students in 15 minutes. Dual lanes can approximately scan 4,000 students in an hour, 500 students per lane in 15 minutes. The system is 10 times faster than your regular metal detectors. It's easy to be broken down, mobile. There are currently school systems in North Carolina using this system: Charlotte Meck, Guilford, Johnston, and Person counties. Pitt and Weldon and Durham have been in conversations concerning this product. There are 25 school districts and charter schools throughout the country who are currently using this system, and some of those states include Virginia, Maryland, and Georgia. The quoted cost for a 4-year lease on the Evolve system is as follows. There are 4 high schools with dual lanes and 3 high schools with single lanes for a 4-year total cost of $929,576.01. 6 middle schools with single lanes, 4-year total, $673,208.26. Total 4-year cost for middle and high schools, $1,602,784.27. Thank you. This is a picture of a single lane. And then you have a picture of the dual lane.
This is what is being proposed.
Sir,
This safety equipment is what is being proposed for the school system this year.
for the school system for the 23-24 school year. Yes, sir. So moving to SROs. So we were fortunate enough to receive a school safety grant for middle and elementary SROs. Nash County Public Schools is a low wealth school district and is currently in year one of a 2-year school safety grant that we received for middle schools and elementary SROs. The funding is a 4-to-1 match. So we have 6 middle school SROs, 1 per school. We had 8 elementary SROs, 1 SRO serving 2 schools. That is how we wrote the grant. The grant allotted $55,000 per SRO. So the grant pays $4,000, and then the district would pay $11,000 per SRO, or the difference between the total cost of each SRO. So for example, if the total cost of SROs were $68,000, the grant would pay $44,000, and the district would pick up the difference of the $24,000. Funding for our elementary school SROs. Funding source, again, is the grant. I just shared with you the 4-to-1 match. The state set the 4-to-1 match at $55,000, 44 that they would pay, $11,000, the difference coming from the school district. We have a total of 8 elementary SROs that we're funding. 8 times that 44,000 gives you $352,000 to be paid by the grant. The approximate total cost for elementary school SROs, $575,000. So the approximate cost to the district for elementary SROs would be $223,000 per school year. Now that could differ in school years based on who the SROs are that's being hired, what agencies they're working for. We know that there's an increase in cost for SROs for law enforcement throughout the region as they try to keep up and be competitive and keep people in the law enforcement business. So the numbers that I am sharing with you, they are not exact numbers, but these are approximate numbers. Funding for middle school SROs. Again, the same figure when you look in terms of what the grant funding was for the 4-to-1 match. So we have a total of 6 middle school SROs. 6 times that 44,000 gives you 264,000 to be paid for by the grant, with an approximate total cost for middle school SROs equaling $425,000, which will be a cost to the district of $161,000 per year. So funding for our high school SROs. So during the 22-23 school year was the first time that the state allocated specific funding for high school SROs. So in the past, the state would say that you have your 069 or some other state funding that you could pull money from to pay for SROs. But this year, they allocated a specific dollar amount for each high school to have an SRO. And that dollar amount was $58,480 per high school for SROs. So we had 6. If you multiply that 6 times the $58,480, it gives you $350,880 to be paid for by the state, with an approximate cost for high school SROs being $480,000, with a total cost to the district for high school SROs being $129,120 per year. So SRO funding that is not covered by grant or monies specifically allocated for high school SROs will come from state 069 at-risk allotment. So the estimated cost from 069 during the 22-23 school year is approximately $291,468.66. Again, this number is not an exact number, but this is an estimation. The estimated total cost from 069 during the 2023-2024 school year be $513,120. Without the specified high school SRO and grant funding, the estimated cost of 6 high schools, 6 middle schools, and 8 elementary school SROs from 069 during the 23-24 school year would be $1,480,000. So just some of the school safety measures that we have in place coming up for the 23-24 school year. We have cameras in all of our schools. Those cameras are located on the outside, the exterior and interior of our buildings. We have access control doors at the main entrances of all of our buildings. All exterior doors are locked during the school day. We have SROs in our schools. There are safety drills, which include fire, lockdown, tornado, and tabletop exercises that our schools have to follow through with. There's the Say Something Anonymous reporting app. We also are hopefully going to get the evolved weapon detection system up and going for the 23-24 school year. We have school safety plans completed in the school risk management plan website. We have a district safety team, and we also have the emergency red panic buttons. One thing that is not listed here is that we have a very robust risk assessment. That's for students who have threat to themselves or harm to others, and mental health protocols, processes, and services within our school district. We have been working on the risk assessment process for approximately 8 to 9 years now. And we have been involved with the school-based mental health and focusing on SEL for our students over the past 4 to 3 years with the focus of trying to have school-based mental health services and processes in place for all of our schools. So we are fortunate enough in the 30 schools that we have in Nash County Public Schools, all of them have school-based mental health services. Are there any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
Do you utilize city police or county or a combination of both?
We have a combination. So for our schools located within the city limits of Rocky Mount Police Department serve those schools, and the Nash County Sheriff Department serves the schools that's located within the county.
What about this school that sits on the Edgecombe County side?
This would be Rocky Mount Police Department. Any other questions? Thank you.
So at this time, we're going to discuss some of the funding challenges that we're going to be facing. Broken them down into 4 categories. One is an increase in salary benefits, technology demand, the demerger impact, teacher retention. What we're going to speak of now is about the budget request, what we're going to be asking for based on these needs. So demerger impact, recruitment, retention bonus, non-certified local supplement, and a technology refresh plan. Mr. Hill, I believe you're first about the salaries.
Excuse me. Well, I believe this will be a bit of a rehash from what I went over a little bit earlier. As I mentioned, we're projecting in our budget a 5% salary increase. Anytime the state of North Carolina decides to give a raise, that's wonderful for state employees and such, but it also has a direct impact on our local budget in that we pay supplements to help supplement these salaries to keep qualified people here in our area. But that also affects, you know, affects our local budget. It affects our federal budget because the raises that are then given to federal employees, the federal funding has to support those increases and those raises, and the federal grants also pay for their bonuses and supplements. But whenever the state gives bonuses to give salary increases, to the employees, it has a direct impact on our local budget. As I mentioned, you'll see here, as I mentioned before, certified teachers, certified principals, classified employees, we estimated 5%, bus drivers at 6.25%. And as I did mention to you earlier, Social Security will remain the same. Our match is 7.65%. Our retirement has increased 0.12%, and our hospitalization went up $222 per employee. Any questions? Thank you.
Good evening. All right. I'm here tonight to share some brief information about our one-to-one technology refresh plan. And maybe 2 years ago, we developed a refresh plan, and the goal of that plan was to place adequate and dependable devices in the hands of our staff and our students. So we're actually in our second year of that plan, and it has been a success. Praise the Lord. All right, and to remind you what that plan looks like, go to this next slide. As you can see, the devices for our pre-K through first grades, they will be refreshed every 4 years. And the reason for this is those particular devices are grade specific, so they stay in that grade level. Our second grade, fifth grade, and ninth grade will receive new devices every year annually, and they will keep those devices for up to 4 years. And the reason we did this, we mapped those devices to the years of warranty. That makes sense. We also did not forget about our staff members. We have about roughly maybe 1,800, maybe to 1,900 staff members. So the plan is to refresh a quarter of their devices every year as well. And I think that equals up to maybe around 450 devices per year. The cost to maintain such a refresh plan is about $1.5 million. Now, we've utilized the ESSER funding to support this plan, but however, as Ms. Wallace stated earlier, the particular ESSER funding that we were using is set to expire this December. Okay, so we will need to secure a funding source to support our refresh plan. And as the technology director, it's my priority to make sure that our students, our staff, have the most updated devices and the best technology so that they're able to do their work and also to get the best instruction. So are there any questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if I'm losing something. What
Okay.
happens to the third, fourth, sixth, seventh grade?
Okay, when you are, let's start with second grade. When I'm a second grade, I get a new device. That device stays with me up to 4 years.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense. We good now? All right. Any more questions? All right, great.
I am back to speak about the recruitment retention bonus plan that we have in place. As you know, there is a teacher shortage. You can visit any website or any vacancy list for any district or any school within the state, and you will see numerous vacancies there. as a means to recruit, compete, and retain highly qualified staff. We do try to offer incentives for our new recruits and to retain the staff that we do have. We do look at criteria when determining what is most needed in our district. And we focus on our hard to fill positions as well as the content areas of those testing grades. We also look at the low performance schools in our district. We get that information from the state and we tier it based on the lowest 5%, 10% and such. We also, in means of trying to retain our staff, we focus on all part-time and full-time staff, and we just try to maintain a certain bonus or stipend that's given to them annually. And we do request a budget of about $500,000 a year in order for us to fulfill these needs. Any questions about that?
It's not just one time. That's paid annually to the staff members in those positions
For which group?
for your hard to fill positions.
Those who are recruited, yes. We pay it in 3 increments throughout the course of the year.
But it's only one time. It's not paid annually as a supplement, additional supplement to them.
Correct. That's correct. So I'm here to speak about the local supplement as well. If you've been following the governor and the budget, we do have a new general statute that is coming down the pipe for our state and non-certified salary ranges. And they are asking pretty much with this general statute that we provide local supplement scales for our non-certified staff. We know that all of our certified staff receive a certain percentage of supplement monthly. However, the classified staff does not. With that being said, we also know that they have not received an increase based on the step scale that is ordained by DPI in many, many years. So in order to compete, in order to retain these employees, we're not only asking, but the general statute is probably going to mandate it if it's approved that we receive some type of funding to offset the salaries for the non-certified staff. It goes into details, just sharing exactly what I have just discussed with you. And it also gives us an idea of what the pay grades could possibly look like. We have provided you with an idea of the positions that falls underneath the non-certified range. We have our bus drivers and monitors, our child nutrition, our clerical, maintenance, teacher assistants, and transportation department. The first column gives you an idea of the total gross amount of all salaries combined for the year. And if we were to provide them with at least a 1.5 supplement, a 2% supplement, or 2.5 supplement increase, it gives you the amount that we would be asking for in terms of supporting this general statute. Are there any questions? Thank you.
So in conclusion, what we've done is we just have a chart of the request, the area of need. Recruitment retention bonus would be 500,000. The refresh plan would be 1.5 million. Local supplement non-certified would be 500,000. The benefits additional would be 450, which would be about $2.95 million request for next year, which would give us a total like 26. I got you. So that would be the request for next year. At this time, are there any questions for any of them, for me or for my team?
Or for Mr. Evans. Okay. If not, Dr. Ellis, without an objection, we could just open it up for discussion. If there are any questions for any of the board. Ms. Washington. Ms. Washington, so that'd be all right.
Yeah, that's
We,
fine.
we can just open it up for the board. If there are any questions you have of us, any questions that our board would like to be addressed by anybody.
Now, this request where I see 24 and then you have 27. Is it a total of 24 and the 27? Or
Total would be about 27 million, but that's the total budget, correct? Of a $3 million request.
in addition to the
Correct.
regular? For the request. And what if that 27 is the request of Edgecombe?
I'm assuming that would be the 11% possibly. So hell, if that's a $3 million request, what would that be? About $300,000 or $400,000 extra?
Nash County was about 22, not counting about 400,000 in fines and forfeitures. I'm using round figures.
Any more questions of our board?
Any further questions?
We will be having budget session Wednesday. We will begin our discussion of our board on Wednesday. And that's when Mr. Evans will be, I guess, responding to us about these requests.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No more questions? Got it on your mind, need to ask it now, otherwise. But I'd just like to thank the board and its for having us. I'd like to also thank the staff for the presentation. Presentation gives me, we're not at your table. So there are a lot of things we don't understand until I don't understand. I'll speak for myself until I hear it because I'm not a school board member. And I just thank you for the job that you do. I understand it's a very difficult one. And I'm hoping to get you out of the business of dealing with these over here. Okay. So that is my intent is. And at this time, if there are any other comments or questions from our board. But then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Questions? All in favor, let it be known by the vote of sign aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And none, Madam Chair. There's some kind of commission stand adjourned.
Thank you. If there's no further business to come before this committee, this board tonight, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion has been moved for the record by Board Member Gray, seconded by Board Member E. Bullock. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please let it be known by the sign of aye. Aye. Opposition, same sign. Meeting adjourned. That's the.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.